Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Circle of the World podcast, where we discuss Joe Abercrombie's First Law series. I am one of your hosts, Lord Chamberlain Jeffrey, and here are my co-hosts.
Arch like the George.
And Harrison, the Adeptus Historical.
We continue our coverage of the Age of Madness trilogy with A Little Hatred, and we cover In the Mirror, A Deal, and The New Monument. So let's get started. As usual, folks, we got to thank you for your continued support. We got a couple of new comments on the couple podcast episodes. We fucking love that.
Yeah, absolutely. We have the Bloody Nine rightfully claiming his fame while we use most of his memes for the Meme of the Week segment, which is it's probably about like 30% of them at this point, right, guys?
Yeah.
Now you could say that
he can
he's
have a
very
whole
hard.
episode on his own.
He could. You really could. And we want to thank you for your hard work, Bloody Niner. We want you to continue it too, so we can continue to profit off of your work, off of your back. Please do so. What else do you guys want to say? Anything else about thanking the populace?
No, just we'll keep up the bread and the circuses, No worries there.
Yep.
Oh yeah. Yep. Love that.
And you'll listen anyway, so it's okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So we'll move right on to our next segment, which is a community interaction segment. As you know, folks, join in on the Memeing Every Chapter soiree, a Little Hatred version, hosted by Sir Spaceman. Head on over to the House of the Meme Maker subreddit if you haven't already. I ask George this all the time because I expect him to be on top of this, but I mean, by the time this gets released, it's probably never accurate. But how many chapters are left?
I have no idea.
No idea. Love it.
No idea.
George has been a busy bee. Get off his back, Lord Chamberlain.
Sorry. I apologize.
I want to be the only one bullied here.
Harrison has a monopoly on being razzed, I guess we'll say.
Yeah, Jeff, you just have like some subconscious hatred for Harrison for some reason.
No, I do not.
It just comes out every now and then.
Yeah, I guess maybe it does.
Because I'm like slightly taller. It's got to be it. I'm not taller than anybody else I know, so
slightly taller, I'll say. But all right, let's go on through our first chapter read through, which is In the Mirror. As you know, folks, we're not doing like actual read throughs, but more like overviews. And here we obviously are in Clover's perspective, and him and Wonderful are in. They're not in Ufrith, are they? No, they're not in Carleon either.
They just say that they're in a.
They're on the move.
They're on the move, right?
It's the same as when we had the celebration in the Dogman's guys. It's just some barn somewhere.
Yeah, gotcha. That makes sense. So they're in some like large hut or tent, and they're actually sitting at a table with Black Calder, who is also with our boy Yoru Sulfur.
That's George's favorite character. If everybody didn't know that.
Yeah, George, you want to talk about this real quick?
What, you're a Sulfur?
Yeah.
My favorite character. I don't think I've ever said that, did I?
Well,
that's right.
You love to rag on him.
You're wearing a bly. Every
Yeah.
single time he's mentioned, you're like, I hate this guy. He's a sniveling bastard. I hate how he shows up and knows everything. He does. He represents capitalism, and I don't like that.
And it's even to this point in this chat, Yoru doesn't actually say that much that even the viewers would really get. But Clover's still like, yeah, this guy knows something. You can tell.
Yeah. Because I think this is the first time we get a mention of Clover's old name, right?
Steepfield, yes.
Because Yoru knew that. He's like, never the slightest piece. Hey, Captain, or hey, Master
Steepfield.
Like, whoa.
Yeah, Clover gets dead named again.
He gets dead named. That's hilarious.
Poor guy. This conversation that he has with Calder is like very insightful because he's basically warning him like this little war that you're doing is fine. Like, some conflict is good for business, but make sure you don't play for too long. Don't drag this out. Like you're on a timetable here. And Calder's like, oh yes, of course, that's the plan. Oh, of course. He's like super. What's that term whenever somebody's just wanting to do whatever the other person, a sycophant. He's being a sycophant.
Yeah.
And Yoru Silver's he mentioned something about how Baez is busy, and Baez is busy in the West with his brother and sister Conneal, because they're they have different ideals of how the world should be or something like that. And that's super interesting.
Yeah, that means there's
For
something going
I
on out
mean,
there.
Conneal like awoke from her stupor essentially and went and helped Zacharias. And the fact that both of them are teamed up together, which it seems like no Magi have done since they all teamed up against Canadius, at least none that we've heard of. And it's enough that Baez can't just send somebody to go deal with them, or he has to go there and talk to them and or do whatever he's trying to do to counteract them. So that's super interesting. I really want to know more about that, but we hardly get anything for the entire rest of this little section. So
Yeah.
I know exactly that. It's so frustrating that this conflict between that Baez has in the West is pretty much not mentioned again. Like he brings it up maybe once or twice, and yeah, it's really frustrating that all the cool magic stuff is going on off screen
Somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's kind of makes sense though because the way that we learned about the mythology in the first law, the first trilogy, is sort of echoed here because this is just it, isn't it? It's just like the same group of people just arguing.
Right, that's a good point. It's like
But
it's like the same way he would be with Khalul. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. It's like it's gossip now, but later it's history.
Yeah.
And one thing I did like was the mention of how Sulfur says that his master Baez likes for things to get a little destroyed here and there. It causes it calls for growth, just not too much. So obviously that kind of lends like who's the real Weaver here? But but what did you think about that little passage there?
I think it just plays into the fact that one thing too that I want to consider. Yoru is news, as far as we know, news still travels on like horseback or a bird, maybe a pigeon or some shit, because the way that this works previously, Baez took a while to even know that his person who died in Adjua died, and then he took a while to get there. Like the world is fairly well connected, but it still takes time for news to travel. So the fact that Yoru is talking to Calder, I have almost no doubt that Baez doesn't know yet. He says he's indisposed in the West and all that. Like, I don't think Baez knows what's going on. I think that Yoru sends him a message, and by the time it reaches him, Baez takes a while to get back to the Union, which we see here later in the book. He hears about the war, he hears about the uprising of Valbec, and then he starts to move back away to Midderland to deal with whatever's going on in Giselle and all that stuff. So I think this is Yoru not actually speaking on Baez's behalf. I think that he is just proxying like, this is okay, but I know my master would not want further escalation.
Okay.
Because it's only been a couple weeks.
That's true. Okay. And so obviously in this chapter we see that Scale is obviously chilling. He's lost a little bit of what he was because he's there
Bigger.
King of the Northman. He's bigger. He's losing hair. Has an iron hand.
I love the ongoing joke throughout the chapter of the two girls that are just constantly filling up his cup.
That's
so
their
sad.
one job. That's their one job, is to make sure he never runs out of ale.
What a life!
Yeah, what is Clover saying in his head? He's like they have the hardest job in the North.
It's so true.
It is actually Scale, and we'll talk about Scale more in here in a bit. But he's got his name now. Scale Ironhand is his name.
Yeah.
It's actually a clever play on words, but I love how Joe, as usual, would be like, "Look, check out this sick ass name and how he got it." And then, like, as soon as he stands up, his little iron hand like kind of flops down limply.
Yeah. That's so funny. Oh man. Yeah, I mean, Scale, the excesses of being a king have clearly got to him. And Calder's not thrilled with just like how his brothers turned out, but really at the end of the day, Calder's the one really running the North. Then the young wolf, Stour Shitefall, comes in, and he's all like, "Hey, I can't get the Finry Dan Brock and the dog man won't stay still long enough for me to do battle. Pussies," shit like that. So which is just so funny. And then obviously Scale's like, tell me more about this and tell me more about how you killed Stranger Come Fucking and everything. Remember that?
I know. I love that this actually the first time that we've ever actually seen a song or a story about somebody, because it's always talked about in the Northern culture. Like all of the Northern characters are always like, yeah, there are songs about this person or stories about this person. But this
Mhm.
is the first time we've actually seen that like in play, and it's so
Mhm.
fucking stupid.
It is. It is. And so it's interesting how like apparently every retelling of that story, Stour embellishes the details. I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like the whole legend grows as he's saying it. And Clover says, last time it was 50 men, and this time it's 100, and last time it was this and that, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing every time he says it.
It's funny too because Clover also says that like, oh, we've heard this story 1,000 times, and Wonderful and him are both super annoyed because like apparently he just keeps telling the story. It's his one glorious moment, really. It's like that one guy who dated one hot girl in high school for a week and just can't stop talking about that one time he did that one thing, and you're just like, shut the fuck up.
Yeah, Stour peaked in high school. That's
Yeah,
exactly it.
he really did.
And it's so funny because considering that, they tell stories about like the Bloody Nine, but we know the Bloody Nine actually fucking, he worked. So
He did work for that
we
shit.
know that's true at least.
Yeah, we know that. And also, I like how Calder says, like, how is there so little of me in him? And Wonderful says, I think it's Wonderful that says that never really had any bad experiences,
Yeah.
essentially, right?
Yeah, she's a
Yeah.
mother. She would know.
That's true. That is very true. That's very true.
And her mother abandoned her
A
children.
mother, a horrible mother.
That's true. That's
Terrible mother.
Those
Exact
other men
opposite
who
of
went off to
Wonderful.
work, no problems. Most of the fucking Northmen abandoned their children. Let's be real. That's why they're all fucked up right now.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yes. So obviously with Stour, with the retelling and everything, it's just Calder getting annoyed. Clover and Wonderful are just like, oh god, this sucks. This sucks.
Mhm.
And Stour, there's just, maybe Stour can learn. Maybe he can learn, but like Calder, how he ends the chapter, he goes like, we all learn. Some of us
Mhm.
just have to learn hard,
Mm.
which is something. So that's the end of that chapter. George, how do you rate it?
I think it's really fun. I think I'm going to give this one a 4 and a knuckle. It's a short chapter. Clover isn't the best character because he's sort of just witnessing everything else, but I think we get a lot of information and like an update on the actual culture in the North now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, this feels like a very. Go ahead.
Sorry, what about you, Jeff?
I was gonna say this feels like a very filler chapter. I think I'll give it 3 and a knuckle. Nothing too crazy. Just a nice hey, we see Scale again, and we obviously
Mhm.
we see Calder, but we get Stour being a shite as always, and
Mhm.
nothing really has progressed, but except for the fact that what has moved the plot forward a little bit is the inclusion of sulfur, right? Your sulfur, and obviously the idea that Calder and AKA Scale have the blessing of Baez to basically do this war with the Union. Because if we remember in the Heroes, that was
Yeah.
very like no, 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 no. But
I mean, you could
obviously
say he has his blessing, but we can also see this as a sort of a sign that Baez is starting to lose control.
Do you think so?
I reckon so. Because throughout the book, we know that, here we learn that Baez is distracted in the West, and everything does get out of his control in the end. So
Mm-hmm.
this war that Stour starts, maybe Baez is just kind of powerless to actually do anything about it.
That's what I mean. Like, he doesn't even know what's happening yet. Like, if he does know what's happening by now, because it's been a couple weeks, and say Yoru found it of enough concern to bother his master, I think he actually contacted him whenever issues started happening in Valbek. I think that's when he was like, "Oh shit, okay, I need to do something. Send word to Baez. I'm gonna go to the north and check in on Calder to make sure he's not getting too out of hand before Baez gets here." So like, I don't think he really knows or can do anything. I agree with George. That's what I was trying to say earlier. He doesn't even know enough to do anything about it.
Do you think that there's a chance that Baez and Sulfur have some kind of long distance magical communication method?
I don't think so, actually.
Just thought, you never
There's
know.
nothing that's been hinted at, and I think if there was, Joe would probably say something. You know.
Yeah, Jeff, I think I'm gonna give this one I'm gonna give it a 3 and a knuckle. Mostly just because we get some background stuff. We touch base. We get to see Scale. We get to see Calder, what they've become. Calder is exactly what he wanted to be, the man in the shadows who's controlling things, but he's not really in charge. Everybody answers to somebody, and he's obviously losing control because of his son and how encouraging Scale is. And I'd like this. I like how there's this change too. Like Scale has completely diminished in body and in mind, but like he's probably the happiest he's ever been, genuinely. And Calder is probably the saddest he's ever been, even though he's only grown in wealth and power. And that's I think it's a really good dichotomy between those two, and to see how they've come. But otherwise, there's just not much going on in this. So I think that 3.5 is my number because there's not much happening. It's just more of the annoying. Oh, Stowers being annoying. Otherwise, we're just checking in on some old characters.
Yeah.
The one thing that does make sense for me for this chapter just being a little bit higher is that it kind of established Calder as being also sort of powerless as well.
Yes.
Like he has his plans, but everything's just getting off railed, you know, and everything that he's done and tried to build is just going to shit. And it's kind of sad to see that, even though we love to hate him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's the first chapter read through. And so with that, we'll move on to our next segment, which is our best meme of the week. Georgia boy, that's you. Take it away.
Yes, this week, just like I said in the community interaction segment, this is another Bloody Niner meme. Okay, I was expecting a reaction there, but all right.
Oh, sorry.
No. We're waiting for you. Sorry.
I was just expecting a cheer for the Bloody Niner.
Okay, all right.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. I'll just chop that in, and it'll seem really cheesy. It'll be funny. Okay, so this is the memeing every chapter for a little hatred, and it's settle this like men. And this is in a few episodes' time when Star and Leo have their duel, and I think it's the Umbrella Academy meme where they cross paths and they looking at each other surprised, and it's Leo and Star, and it's Bloody Nine want to be A and Bloody Nine want to be 2.
I love that. I love that Josh did. Yeah, A and 2. I love that. It's like they have to be different from each other.
Yeah. It is awesome. That adds just an extra level of nuance, you know. It's perfect.
Yes.
Yeah,
love it.
That's good.
Love it. That's a good one.
A good, short, simple beam. We love it.
I like the image. The images that he uses. Nice. It's pretty good. Thank you for that, Bloody Niner. We appreciate you as always. You know it. And so with that, we will move on to our second chapter read through. And this one's pretty straightforward as well. This is Savine Danglocta's perspective. And she's locked in a room with May Broad. And they are listening to Gunnar and Liddy not argue, but more like Gunnar, like, I can't just stand around and do nothing, Liddy.
And you know what? To be honest, Gunnar
right.
This time
is
like
right.
Maybe the only time is actually right in this time. And
but
this is interesting because Liddy would normally be very like, oh, you be what you are and all that. It doesn't matter. But maybe it's just because she's stressed the fuck out and like we shouldn't even be here, so she's lashing out. But it's kind of funny that he's actually right for one.
It is pretty funny again. But you know how like Gunnar is. He's like, I'm right. I just take things a little too far.
Yeah, immediately somebody goes, hey, that's our girl. Then he gets beat the shit out of him, and then they're like, yeah, get out of here. And he's no hesitation.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Broad loves to preach, but he can't help himself, can he?
No, he can't. And obviously, in Savine's perspective, she's kind of like replaying the moment where she stabbed old Squinty and Tall, like Cap or whatever the guy, the other one.
Yeah, Bellini. Yep.
And and instead of trying to get away from thinking about that, what she does is she starts talking to May, and it's not too long before May kind of just lets on like, yeah, I know who you were. I know who you were. I remember
Mhm.
you from Valamir's house and everything, and also that we figured that we knew who you were when you that day, and you stuck up for me, and I remembered that. And Savine's like, "Oh boy." So go ahead,
Sabine is
Harrison.
at first like, you want some of this, like, you want some of my earrings and stuff, my jewelry that I hid, and she's like, nah, I don't want that. That she's like, I don't need that shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Sabine's
And I
like, oh
like how she
god.
said so subtly as well. She's like, "Yeah, I don't think that would go with my ensemble."
Yeah, right.
Instead, she actually is basically and this is cool too because she actually Sabine says it's like a deal. Sabine is so desperate, so fucked up right now, so scared that she doesn't even try to negotiate with her. But May is basically like, well, here's the thing: you now own me and my family, so I expect you to pardon my dad from any crimes and to give us employment and to keep us safe and to take care of us, just like we took care of you. And I think this is done really, really well with her character as well because it shows her cleverness to set this up, but also it still shows that she is a pretty good person. Like she actually is trusting that Savine Dan Glock of all people is gonna uphold her end and actually do it when she gets out of this. That's pretty well natured, meaning nobody else would give Savine that chance. I don't think.
No, she Savine really did luck out, and obviously it's mostly for the purpose of the plot, but it is interesting.
Yeah, I just like that, and like a lot of these stories, it'd be like, oh, and she is, she's this side character, but as always, there's just this more depth to it. She's just she's a bit cunning, and
Mhm.
I like that. I like that a lot here because Savine is basically just like all traumatized. Like she's so traumatized, she's even willing to talk about her parents. Is they're because they're whenever they hear Liddy and Gunnar arguing and she Sabina's like, yeah, my parents used to argue, and May's like, because she knows who she is. She's like, what about? And my father's work, my mother's drinking. Um, I was always their favorite argument, which is
Mhm.
Joe does so much with very few words. It's very telling of what Galacta and Artie were like. They probably fought a lot,
Yeah.
but they also worked through a lot. They obviously already never stopped drinking, which is probably a big concern. Probably Glockta was not around as much as he should have been either, but they did talk about her a lot too. So that's interesting. It's very, I don't know, there's so many things to ponder about what they argued about.
Yeah. I mean, and so like the chapter is basically just Savine pondering about what her parents used to argue about, obviously pondering the stabbing of that guy. Go ahead, George.
I like the part where Savine is describing like the current situations and what she's used to and how scared she is, and I love this part where she's just like, experiencing all of this might, through a common person's eye, might make you think that you would have sympathy for them, and she's like, no, it just makes me hate them more.
Or just she wants to get clean. She wants to get out of
Yeah,
there.
I love the quote. Now she was happy to be evil if it meant she could be clean.
Yeah.
Yes. Which,
That is such a good line. I love it.
I know. It is really good, and it's very much like Glockta, right? Like that, the only time you suffer, it doesn't make you feel worse for others. It just makes you feel more sorry for yourself or whatever. But
it's the thing, isn't it? People who are put into desperate situations are the ones that do end up doing horrible things most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. There's two responses to trauma: either try to be better or just fucking repeat the cycle. So I do like though that Sabine, as we know, actually does take positive things away from this. She's like caught between this Giselle frantic, I'm gonna do better, I'm gonna be a better person, and this I'm like my dad, I'm gonna stomp on all the small folk beneath me. But like Galacta's trauma, Galacta innately, as most of us are, still has the inklings of just trying to be a person in the end. And so we do see this affect her, I think, in a positive way in the coming up books.
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
So yeah, absolutely. So obviously the deal is they shake hands. Savine's supposed to take care of them once this whole situation kind of we'll see how it ends.
Yeah.
So how do you rate this chapter, boys?
Harrison, what do you think?
I think this is pretty fundamental for the Broads, and also for Savine, like her perspective. I think it's a really good check-in moment. Like, yes, it's filling a gap, but it progresses the plot in a very significant character way for a couple of characters and everything. So I think, but it's very short. So I'm gonna give it a 4 and a knuckle. I think is a decent amount.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I was going to give it just a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Fair.
Yeah, I think a 4 is pretty. Actually, maybe I go a 3.5, kind of, because it's shorter than the previous chapter. Not a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll even go with 3.
Ooh.
But
What don't you like about it?
No, I like it. It's
other
just
than
very no, it's just very short. That's it. I do like, it's the idea that a lot of these chapters could have just been like bookends to other chapters,
I
But
would agree, but not for this one, because this one it is like an intermediary chapter. You couldn't really put this anywhere.
There is something about the way that Jeff tells stories that, I've been reading a lot of other fantasy novels, and in those, it usually is longer chapters with a single character that is split up into maybe flashbacks or something like that.
Yeah.
Whereas Joe just does straight to the point. I'm going to do this character, this perspective at this time, and you kind of have to fit it in with the rest and like figure out what the themes are.
Yeah.
And I think that really makes you. It's part of the way that Joe's writing is so kind of visceral.
Yeah.
It really makes you. It really puts you there with the person, the way that things are staged. And I don't know, Jeff. I think your short chapter bias is. It must come to an end.
Down with the short chapter bias. Down. The great change. The minor change.
You don't get to dictate that. However, I will say I'm gonna go with my gut and give it a 4. What I initially was gonna give it.
Okay.
So yeah. It's a good chapter for what's on the page, like for how many pages there are. Obviously, we get the background, not background, but we get the continuation of like Liddy trying to be Gunner's like, I don't want to say conscious, but like guiding principle, maybe. Gunner, in this case, not trying to find an excuse for his behavior, but he's actually right, because he had to save Savine and all that stuff. Savine being incredibly nervous, and then what you had pointed out about that line about her just saying, "I'm more than happy being evil. Fuck that, if that's the case. If I just want to get the fuck out of here." So
yeah,
that was very good. I'll give it a 4. And with that, we'll move on to our next segment, which is our character spot. Boys, who are we shining a spotlight on?
I can't actually remember who we did.
Scale.
We're doing Scale Iron Hand.
Oh, really?
Champion of the bridge.
Champion of the bridge.
Yeah, not really though, because he got thrown in the water and turned.
We're doing Scale so early because obviously he dies at the end of this book. Spoilers. But we don't really know anything about him between. So all we know about him, he was a pig-headed spoiled brat. And then
decent fighter.
He grew up and he became a pig-headed decent warrior. Yeah. And then
he became a pig.
His hand cut off. And then he became a pig. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Patron saint of prosthetics,
But I think it's so interesting that Calder, when he makes patron saint of prosthetics, Scale Iron Hand, right? Okay, yeah, sure. I'm surprised that thing hasn't got infected and rotted off.
What? How? It's iron.
Medieval yeah, because iron is known for never decaying ever.
Well, I don't know. Maybe he gets a new one.
You think he cleans it daily? He's like, yes, my pretty, and he's like oils it and shit.
Yeah, yes, you have to take it out and
but okay, I will say too, it's probably super gross. You're right, but I think that the super interesting part with Scale for me in this early on is like, yes, he's a fat oaf, and yes, he's in Vainglorious, and yes, he's basically a puppet king. But as I mentioned earlier, he's probably the happiest he's ever been. Probably happier than most characters. And number 2, the most interesting thing is he absolutely adores Stour. Now he's a fool, as always, but he loves that boy. Genuinely. He does love him. He sees himself in him, and he's like, my boy, my heir. Scale didn't have any of his kids. If he did, he definitely didn't keep him around. and instead he basically took on this I'm going to be Stour's role model, even though he's not actually. He's like, I'm gonna be the big man. I love you, my boy. You're my heir, which is such a good change. It's not like Scale is like, no, I wish I had a son.
Yeah.
I think it's a
that is
great thing. He loves
yeah.
Calder, he loves Stour, and I think it's played out really, really well in the scene. And it is sad how he dies, in a certain way, but
We'll
also
talk
he's a
about that.
damn fool. So we'll talk about that one later.
He is a damn fool. And obviously we can't talk about Scale without talking about Calder as well, because I like the way that at the end of the Heroes, Calder sparing Scale instead of having him killed is sort of shown as sort of like a mercy thing. But
Mhm.
it's really come back to hit him, hasn't it?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
Calder is not in charge and he's lost control of the whole situation through
Well,
Scale, who is obviously just a fucking,
he's
he's thick
it,
as shit,
Yeah.
and 30 years of drinking and eating is not going to help that.
right.
No.
Well, I think we have to admit, like, Calder is in charge. He still is. It's just that
He's
it's
still
all,
in, yeah, but he's not though, is he? Because whatever he says and tries to caution anybody throughout this book, he's just there. He gets shrugged off.
which is interesting. Yeah, and I think maybe like we talked about the excesses of power getting to Scale. Same thing
Yeah.
happening with Stour, and Scale obviously reinforcing that for Stour. Right? He's
Yeah,
not.
every time
Yeah.
Calder brings something up, Stour just goes, ugh, and then Scale just goes, "Yeah, you're a pussy,"
Yeah.
and that's it. That's all that ever happens.
Stour knows what to
Yeah.
do.
Yes.
Yeah. So it is pretty sad. I mean, yeah, it's like it's heartwarming to see the love he has and the appreciation he has for Stour, and obviously the love he has for Calder too. But
Yeah.
obviously, being a pighead will lead you down a certain path.
But you're right, though, Harrison. He's definitely the happiest man in the circle of the world.
Right now, he is. Mm-hmm.
For now.
For now.
For now.
That was our character spot. Scale Iron Hand. We still know ye still around. We appreciate ye. So we'll move on to our final chapter read through, which is the new monument. And this is the perspective of our girl Victorine Den Teufel, Vic. And not much happens here except because of Rizanow's fucking proselytizing here. Proselytizing here. Because the guy just,
Proselytizing.
yeah, thank you. He doesn't shut the fuck up. And Vic at some point goes, this motherfucker ain't the Weaver. He can't be the Weaver.
Yeah.
Like, no way. There's no way.
No
And
fucking way.
Go ahead, Harrison.
I hate and love how he is. He's the most like, I don't know, like he's like the most historical figure that I've seen in Joe's writing. He's like, I understand the more intricate moments of life as he's staring down into a shit dung that a child has got his head face first in. And he's like, truly, we are sad creatures. But I see through that to the core of what we can be. And everyone's just, it's just like the most aggravating shit. Like, how did this guy even get in this position?
Rizanow, I think, is what we'd call like a pure ideologist, right? Yes, all he cares about is just the ideas that he has in his head and nothing else.
Definitely. Absolutely, definitely.
Yeah.
And it's wonderful that Joe conveys that so infuriatingly. I listened to the chapter twice a day, and I was just getting angrier and angrier. Like, man, I know like 20 people that talk like this.
Yeah. So annoying.
It's terrible.
So annoying. And obviously Gunner's there and Malmer's there. And the idea is like, you know what? They come up with the ideas like, listen, we need to get these prisoners that the burners have accumulated, which are not just rich people, but also even poor people. And this is kind of like turning into like the Bolsheviks, right? Revolution, or George, if you want to chime in here, but like basically anybody that might have had any kind of connection to, the people in power.
I mean, that's not just the Bolsheviks. The French
That's
Revolution
anything.
happened
That's
like
really
that as well.
anything.
Yeah. But that's the thing as well. Like, Rizanow really represents the kind of worst kind of people. We see with the Breakers and Burners already that there are people that really want to make change and they have reasonable demands, and then they have the people want to kill because they're so pent up and don't understand the situation they're in to the point that they can do anything about it reasonably. But then we have the people that see any kind of change as positive. So Rizanow was like, yeah, no, this is definitely better, People were still surviving back then, but now, a third of them are dead, and we've got all these prisoners, and everything's hunky-dory, we can move on. It's just not the case.
He's also like the typical, like politician type to start a problem, be part of the problem, know more what's going on, and because he knows more and knows he'll be fine and all this extra shit, like, he acts like everything's great, everything's great. Like, I know there's a greater plan for the Weaver, and this is perfect, And I love, though, that whenever they're talking about how they're trying to get these prisoners from Judge, to try to see if they can get Savine, or if there's something else going on, maybe they can save some people for money to ransom. That Vic is like, okay, one, I'm tired of hearing this motherfucker talk. Number two, I need to go see if Savina's over there and see who else they have. And so she very quickly and very easily looks at him and she's like, I'll go figure out what's going on. He's like, no, I need to be the one. She's like, no, we need you doing the important work. We need you to write our memorandum. We need you to really think about ideas. Who are we gonna be? He puts his hand on her shoulder and he's like, I can truly see why Sybil loved you. Oh, it's one of my favorite moments, honestly, so far in this trilogy. I just love that she just instantly plays into it, and it's perfect. He's just like, yes, my great work. Such a dickwad, dude. I hate him.
He is. He really is. Oh, man. But that's pretty much the chapter. Yeah, Vic is like, all right, Gunnar, Mulmer, let's go. We're going to go get those prisoners back from Judge, because this guy is completely fucking useless. So how do you rate the chapter, boys?
I really like this one. Obviously, we get a lot more information about what's going on in Valbach and the Great Change, and some extra information. And the fact that this fucking chapter makes me feel so angry just has to give it an extra. I've got to give it a 6 and a knuckle.
Yeah,
fair enough.
Harrison?
Yeah. Oh, man. I feel conflicted about this chapter because I like the stuff with Sybil, but it is very aggravating. And I don't know. I kind of wish I wanted to see more of this part of it, but we don't get much more. But also, he does efficient work, so I'm going to give it a 5. I feel right in the middle of it, honestly.
I'm with Harrison. I was going to give it a 5. I'm with you on that. Like the length is a little bit longer than the other two, a little bit, but I think there's a lot more about the status of Valbach right now, the status of this uprising, this and what are the long-term and short-term implications of this. And I mean, the way they're acting, like Rizanow and Judge, at least the way Rizanow is like, yeah, totally fine, like everything's gonna be okay. It's not like the union's gonna send anybody over here. And so
We'll be right back, folks.
And then the funny thing is like, even Vic is like, if we don't find Savine and Glockta, we're all gonna be fucking disemboweled. So we need to do something. So yeah, I'm gonna give it a 5. That was a good one. That was a good one. I appreciate that. Well, that's our show, everyone. We want to thank you all for listening and supporting this podcast. As you know, this is a passion project for the three of us, and your support means oh so much.
Join us next week as we cover All Equal, Young Men's Folly, and The Party's Over.
And make sure you follow us on all of our social media or shoot us an email at circleofthewordpodcast@gmail.com.
And if you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast from. And please make sure to rate and review us. Thank you all again for listening.
Aren't you the Weaver?